Welcome into the Blue-White Tailgate podcast. Mike Gross of the Gross Rational Product, Frank Bodani of the York Daily Record, and Andrew Callista here, back in the saddle post Blue-White game. We'll get to one email coming in that was very interesting based on last week's episode regarding recruiting. We will get to that. We have a couple sound bites from Rocco Beck, Cooper Cousins, two of our favorite players to hear from on this Penn State roster. But then again, I've been banging the drum for Cooper Cousins since he was a freshman.
You are his agent, man.
I should be his agent. Cooper, sign me up.
I wonder if he's aware of your campaign and his
Mike, I got to jump in. Whose agent was I? Who did I work for at one point as an agent? LeClaire.
Jared Odrick.
No, no, that's your realm, man. Chaz Powell.
You were
Chaz Powell, of course.
Joe asked if I was his agent. Remember?
And you had yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, well, Joe was just tired of talking about Chaz Powell.
Who was the writer for Wilkes-Barre when they just introduced them? I don't think it was Derek LaVarse at the time, but it was just he wanted to talk about Paul Jefferson, and Joe cut him off and goes, "Paul Jefferson will be eligible," and that was like, I just remember that. That was a funny one. Back in the day, Chaz Powell. That's a name. It's a name yet you don't hear a lot of. A guy could run some kickoffs back.
He was talented, yeah. He was an athlete.
He wasn't.
What's he doing now, Frank?
I know he got his plumber's certification.
Certification. That's easy for you to say.
Wow, I wish I could speak as well as I write, but I'm not even saying that anymore. So anyway, but he was working in some realm in that fashion. He was also doing some security work at one point here in York.
There, the explosiveness could help him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Not so much plumbing.
So, but I'm not sure. I haven't talked to Chaz. Wish we should be back in touch soon. I hope.
Yeah. We will. He's one of the targets to get on the podcast coming up.
He would be good. He was working with York High as well.
Oh, yeah, he would be good.
So he was. I should have mentioned that he was on the staff in some fashion. So I'm not sure if what's coming up with this year, but he would be good. We should touch base with him in the office.
I owe Russ Stoner a phone call.
There we go.
He's getting older. Coach Stoner's getting a little bit more forgetful. He's probably forgotten about me, so I got to call and remind him that
I
was his favorite TV reporter back in the day. So I'll have to do that. So 8 Penn State players, enough of the shenanigans. 8 Penn State players selected in the 2026 NFL draft. Big Vega in the first round, 14th overall to the Ravens. Shout out to everyone who called that concrete lock. I mean, that was a lock of lock. Mike Gross was one of them. Frank, you had that, right? I mean, I think we all had that one. The entire NFL world pretty much had Vega going to the Ravens. Drew Allar, 76 overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Drew Shelton, 4th round, 112 to the Cowboys. Denai Dennis Sutton, 4th round to the Packers. Zakee Wheatley, 5th round, 51st. I can't read my notes here. To the Carolina Panthers. Nick Singleton, 165th to the Tennessee Titans in the 5th. Zane Durant, 181st to the Buffalo Bills. Katron Allen, 6th round, 187th overall to the Washington Commanders. A lot of guys signing contracts. First, before we get into the draft, I just want to go into this. There were guys who opted out of the bowl game that did not get drafted. And yet, you had guys, and I know it's everybody's individual thing, but you had Clemson's Blake Miller play in the bowl game. I believe he goes in the first round. So there's different tacks on all of this. What do you make of guys like Nick Dawkins, Nolan Rucci, opting out? And it might be their last competitive game. My standpoint is it could be their last competitive game. It's their last game in the blue and white. And even for guys like Katron Allen going in the 6th round, your last competitive game with a coach that you were so involved with, and you're not putting on that uniform one more time to go undrafted or to go really late. What is your guys' thoughts?
I think Denai Dennis Sutton said after the Pinstripe Bowl, I don't really understand guys opting out. I don't understand. You're a football player, play football. That's sort of how I feel about it. I don't think it has much impact on your draft status either way, because it's certainly not a new thing. I mean, the NFL is used to dealing with that, but to be so concerned about injury that you're just not going to play in one single game, yeah, I don't really get it. You're a football player, play football.
I agree, especially if you're a leader. That's why it always surprises me when guys, maybe even more specifically, like Nick Dawkins, who's on the offensive line, one of the leaders of the team. I don't think that game, again, like Mike said, is going to change his draft status at all. But after everything you've been through that season, I just was a little surprised that basically the entire offensive line opted out of the game, because more so because of the circumstances of Penn State season. I thought, you stick together, you do what you got to do to uphold your school and your team. And that game did not mean a whole lot of anything on one level, but in a way of finishing out those guys' careers and their season and playing for Terry and doing what they did to come back. I think it meant a lot in that realm.
Yeah,
so
but apparently it didn't mean a lot to them. I mean, apparently it doesn't mean a lot to them. I'm with you, Frank. I
got the sense of that after the Rutgers game, as we're standing there in the tunnel interviewing, especially the offensive linemen. You got the sense like they're not saying they're not playing, but they're not playing. And it's like after that game, and I'm thinking, I don't get it. I mean, it's not going to affect draft status, because look at Katron Allen. What more could that guy have done against backups in the Pinstripe Bowl to get picked higher than the 6th round? He did everything he could the last 6 games of the year. And for maybe different reasons, he's only a 6th round pick. Certainly playing in that game, I can't imagine how that would have changed it, whether he went for 200 yards or not, because he already did that. He already showed
a separate issue from the draft. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what gets me, is the opting out. It's not really going to have an effect on your draft stock if you get injured. And for the guys that went undrafted or extremely late, it's the last time you're putting on the uniform. It's the last time. Like I've been around professional coaches and they talk about like the finality of it when they're done from the playoffs, especially in hockey. When you're done from the playoffs, you're done. That group's never coming back together ever again. For some of these guys, it's your last chance at competitive football and your last chance with that group. And yeah, I mean, that's something they have to live with, and whether they're getting the advice with the agents or it's the thing to do, I guess that's it.
I guess
I forgot about the Dennis Sutton soundbite. Him coming up to the podium, sitting next to Terry Smith and with Trevor Pena, and him saying about playing football and why he played in that game. Who's the steal of the draft, in your opinion, out of all those Penn State guys that got drafted? 14th time.
Penn State guys.
Yeah, 14th time. Penn State has had at least 8 players selected. Who's the steal?
Well, the guy that I literally forgot about in writing the piece where I was predicting with it, and the guy who I'm going to say maybe Drew Shelton, because he was a very consistent offensive tackle, and the Cowboys got him late, and you can't have too many offensive linemen. And I mean, I thought most of the guys went roughly around where we expected him to, or maybe a little lower. So I can't say that the NFL, I don't know, I can't say they really saw great value per the round they were selected. So I don't know. I'll say Drew Shelton. If Katron turns out to be better than his athleticism suggests he should be, which is what he was in college, if he turns out to be that in the NFL, then he'll be the guy.
Yeah, I think I start with Katron because I thought he was the one guy out of all 8 who probably played above his expectations for the season. Maybe the only one. And I think he did everything he could. And I think he showed people, to me, hey, he can handle being the guy in every realm that you need be. Now, he still has room to grow, like, say, with his receiving game, maybe his blocking game a little bit, but I think there's room to grow. And to get him in the 6th round after what he did the last 6 games of the year in particular, but over his career, I think that could be definitely to steal the draft. Drew Allar is, who knows, right? I mean, we had Terry Smith talking about how Penn State system didn't fit him and how he's going to be a better pro than he was in college. So if that turns out, well, who knows how far he could go. Drew Shelton. I can't believe Drew Shelton got picked as high as he did. My goodness, God, 4th round. I was concerned whether he would go before the 7th round.
Okay,
so
maybe he's the opposite of a steal.
The Cowboys are seeing something. He was very consistent, but literally nothing to me beyond that. And it's concerning when you're a left tackle. Does he have the strength and the power and everything else to handle that position in the NFL? Maybe they move him around, but the Cowboys certainly to me saw something in him above where I would have thought, more than any other Penn State pick. I thought the other guys going into the draft ended up about where they were. I was kind of surprised. I'm like ready for Dennis Sutton, every single pick to be going once the 3rd round starts. Every team, I'm like, okay, it's Denai's turn. Okay, the next one is Denai's turn. All of a sudden, Drew Allar comes. But you know what? Was it really a shock that Drew went in the 3rd round? Overall, maybe not, right?
Well, I had him. I predicted the 3rd round, but I predicted the Rams. I thought the Rams were going to do kind of with Allar taking a swing, kind of what they did a little more urgently when they went with Ty Simpson, which I thought was kind of a reach. But
I think the world thought that was kind of a reach. That was kind of bizarre. I'm not sure. I haven't seen Sean McVay's explanation. I saw a headline that McVay explains kind of the press conference reaction, but at face value, in that moment, he didn't seem all too thrilled with the pick right then and there in that moment. Frank, you took us right to it. Here's the soundbite from Terry Smith talking on Pittsburgh radio about Drew Allar and Penn State's offense.
When the big stage was there, he didn't make always the best decisions or throws. Can you talk about that? And maybe there's a narrative out there that the coaching staff did not allow him to do more with his abilities.
Yeah, I've been known as like the truth teller here at Penn State. And, I think unfairly to Drew, our system wasn't built for him. It wasn't made for him. Some of the decisions were taken out of his control.
I mean, I take this 2 ways. I mean, Terry's not really pulling any punches at all. And that's another dagger towards the previous regime that was at Penn State. But I think we all knew that, because we've talked about it for now 2+ seasons on this podcast, since we had the bright idea to invent it, that James Franklin always said the mobility of a quarterback when Christian Hackenberg was here. It was almost like, I can't wait till Hackenberg is graduated. I can't replace him. I need a mobile quarterback. And then since Trace McSorley, he slowly got less mobile every single quarterback. But Franklin has 4 quarterbacks in his tenure. All 4 get drafted. But I don't think what Terry said is anything earth-shattering. Am I correct?
Well, if you remember what was it, the Indiana game, when we were talking to Terry after the game, and it was why are you all of a sudden now being able to push the ball down the field a little bit? And he gave this like meaning-laden 1-sentence answer, which was, well, we called the plays to throw the ball down the field, period, end of response. It was pretty clear that once he sort of spent some time around the offense and was involved in game planning in the offense, I don't think he realized how poorly suited the offense was to Drew Allar, until it took him a couple of weeks to figure that out. In fact, I think he kind of said that at one point. I didn't really realize what we were doing offense. I wasn't really versed in it until I was doing the interim head thing for a couple of weeks. So, yeah, I mean, they were not well suited to Drew Allar. Yeah.
Or did he just didn't realize how stubborn Andy Kotelnicki was until he actually became the head coach and in charge?
That's kind of related. Yeah, that's
right?
kind of the same thing. Yeah.
Because I think that was frustrating. I think, Mike, you asked, I think it was at least a couple of times you asked similar questions and got these failed one-line responses, and everybody. So Terry was throwing daggers back in November. This isn't new, okay? Because he was throwing daggers at his own coaches in a sense in the middle of the season, because you could tell from those responses that he was frustrated at the offense and not letting Drew or not letting the quarterbacks really throw the ball down the field the way that he believed it should be. And finally, he had control over saying something. I think he realized this all along, but he didn't have the voice as the cornerbacks coach to say it until he finally was the head coach and was asked it. And then he didn't want to hold it in anymore. Okay. So, and he didn't want to hold this in too. It didn't take the Pittsburgh radio guys, including a good friend of mine, Joe Starkey, who I went to college with, very long of prodding to get Terry to kind of go on a little bit about the offensive mismatch and Drew Allar. And I think he was really sticking up for just Drew, because Drew's taken a lot of heat. I mean, he's one of the most polarizing picks in the draft. And when it comes to that, there's going to be negative, right? People doubting him. And Terry sees it. He wants to stick up for a guy that I think he truly believes stood with the team no matter what we thought of Drew's play or anything else. We could tell through Terry's talking that Drew stood with the team, helped Terry, helped lead the team, even when he was injured. And he was just, to me, sticking up for him. So
remember when right after James was fired, Terry was talking to us and he said, we all failed James. Remember him saying that? We all failed James. And then once he got the lay of the land as the interim head coach for a couple of weeks, his rhetoric turned more into James failed us a little bit, right?
He never said that. He never said that.
Of course, he never said that, but that's kind of what he was in effect saying.
Yeah, because at the beginning, he not only said that, but he said that he was talking to James on a regular basis. That made it sound like James was almost mentoring him at the beginning. Yeah. And then within 2 weeks, it seemed like, I'm in charge of this team now. I don't agree with the way a lot of it was being run. And it's frustrating as hell, but I'm going to go forward and do the best I can, but let you guys know that.
And he also, right. And relatedly, he went from, I'm the truth teller in the room under James. He went from that to, nobody listened to me under James. Right? He really...
he may have told the truth. But it's almost like, as somebody who works in politics, somebody is standing here saying something. All right, let's go over to the more rational people, or who we deem more rational people in the room. Maybe Terry was telling a little bit too much truth, and that was ruffling some feathers.
Yeah, probably, maybe so. Absolutely.
Probably.
As a Steelers fan, I have a lot of pause on the pick. Sorry, Frank, I cut you off right there.
No. I mean, I'm just saying is that he gave us responses that most every other coach doesn't to the media. So that tells you right then and there, he may have been ruffling feathers, right? Because we don't get head coaches they answer us like that usually.
Yeah.
Ever. And as a Steeler fan myself, I have a lot of pause on the pick. I wish he would have gone to the Rams. I think for Drew's sake, it would have been even better for Drew.
Yes.
And the setup and the system there for him would be even better with the Rams than it would be with the Steelers. And as a Steeler fan, I understand what it was like to go 20 years between Terry Bradshaw and the next quarterback that could actually be competent and lead them through how hard it is to find a really good NFL quarterback that can win you the biggest games, not just win you games, because there's a lot that can win you the biggest games. And then now they finally found Ben Roethlisberger, and now where are they at?
Yeah.
I don't think this is a great situation for Drew.
No, an old guy who was great, and then you have three other guys who I don't know if any of them can even lead to meaningful wins.
One of them who's been in the program for a long time and hasn't gotten any better.
Yeah. No, exactly.
So, the quarterback development, and whether I know it's a new era, but it's still the same organization. The organization has not been able to figure out how to develop quarterbacks. Post Roethlisberger, they haven't. It's just the way it is. So
Well, but I mean, who could they have had that could have developed? I'm not so sure about that. But Frank's point is a great one, because you talk about winning the biggest games. It's hard to believe that Will Howard and Mason Rudolph are going to be that guy. But if Aaron Rodgers is not in the picture, and he probably is going to be eventually, but he gets over himself and says, "I'm coming." But if he's not going to be there, then Allar, who is developmental, no question, is going to be competing with those two guys, Howard and Rudolph, to play right now. How is that in the best interest of Allar or the Steelers? So it's not a great situation for him.
I'm just like, you pick Kenny Pickett or bust. Justin Fields, you bring in, can't get it done. Russell Wilson, whatever that experiment was. I mean, Russell Wilson, they're essentially saying, we don't even want him in our building with the office and everything else. Like, here, just take him. And it's like, they're afraid to go down the path of actually developing and just putting retreads in there. And it's just a bad situation for quarterback in Pittsburgh the last couple of years. Rodgers, I get it. I mean, he's the name, but he's 42 years old.
For a long, long time, the Steelers were good, right? Yeah. They were great way back when I was in college out there, and my idiot friends were beating me over the head with it. But they've been good for so long, and everybody said, "Oh, look how stable they are. The key to their success is their stability." And now they look like anything but stable. Well, it's easy to be stable when you're winning every year. It's harder when you have to really figure it out. And that's the spot they're in right now.
Well, and it goes back to the elite quarterback, though, because they were very stable in the way they operated their team and their franchise. And they always seemingly had good defenses, but they were not winning big every year. Like when Terry Bradshaw and that group left, yeah, they made a couple of decent playoff runs, but they were not big time winners until they found another elite quarterback, which I know is really hard to do, to find a Hall of Fame quarterback. But that's what it took, because they were not repeatedly at the top of the league again until Roethlisberger came.
Yeah, but it might have been easier to draft the elite quarterback if they had the 3-13 season, but they never did. They were always okay, know. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's one way of looking at it. Bottom out, so you can try to get the best quarterback. I'm not sure I like that approach all the way around, but I understand.
Oh, but it's just the way it has to be, almost.
Yeah.
I'm always a guy that if the right quarterback falls to the third, fourth round, that quarterback can win you big games. Kirk Cousins, I think, is a perfect example of that. There's a lot of guys that go in the third and fourth round and they don't end up in the right situation. You got to find your guy in that round if you're not going to bottom out. You just have to do it. And they haven't been able to do it. So, all right, 22 minutes on the NFL draft. A little bit longer than I thought. So quickly, just real brief here before we get to the email. And remember, you could email the show, BlueWhite Tailgate Podcast@gmail.com. Thanks, everyone, for listening, tuning in. Free podcast, a couple Heisman voters and a former TV guy. Really appreciate it. All the ears and eyes tuning in. Do we make anything of the lack of turnout? The unofficial attendance by my count, and I was counting people at all the gates, 7,409, 409, 409, the last three numbers. It's legal to say. Do we make anything of it? Twitter, Virginia Tech fans were having a big laugh. College football fans were having a big laugh. The blue-white game is always a glorified practice. This literally was glorified position drills with a little bit of 7-on-7, what the media kind of would see going to see a practice. Is there anything to be made at the lack of attendance up in State College on Saturday?
Absolutely not. Because my goodness, I mean, first of all, Penn State fans knew long beforehand that this was going to not even be a full scrimmage, right? So then you're wondering, do I want to come up for that? Okay. And the stadium's under construction. Parking's not the same. So what am I going to invest? And then the blue-white game practice, whatever, it's always the most weather-dependent Penn State football event of the entire year. Okay, we go back to, let's bring up Chaz Palaga. Okay, we go back to like 2009 when they set their record. But you know what the kind of day that was? It was 80-some degrees, perfectly sunny. It was a summer day. They got over 80,000 fans. But it's the weather. We've seen blue-white games where they've canceled the darn thing in the middle of it because it was so god-awful, and everybody ran out. Well, you take what I just described at the beginning, add in miserable weather. Why would most anybody come to this? I thought it was a pretty good turnout for the team arrival, considering the weather conditions. Yeah. But then it's raining even beyond that. And if you go up there, it's reunion time for you. Are you going to go in there and sit in that? No. The autograph sessions at the end, make nothing of this.
Well, one of the things that I heard, I kind of sort of noticed this, but I also heard a number of people say this, is that the crowd outside was decent before the game and the after, but people just didn't want to go in there and sit in that stadium and get rained on. So maybe that was. Do
you blame them? You don't blame them, do you?
No, of course not. No.
It was hard for us to watch in the press box.
Thank God at least we got in the press box this year. Last year,
oh, that's right. Last year. Oh, that was a nasty business. Oh man. But we ended up I just thought of this. It was what a full circle experience the 2025 season was. We watched the blue-white game from the interview room, and then we ended up watching the Pinstripe Bowl from the media room, the media dining room, because we were freezing our butts off at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, who would think a season would begin and end with closed circuit TV in a stadium? Right?
That's right. Well,
speak for yourself on the Pinstripe Bowl. My cold region toughness would not allow me to go into the heat. I sat out there and I took it.
Did you have to type on a laptop?
My laptop froze. Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, your laptop froze. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. we did thought it. We did thought it by the end of the day. All right. Email from Joe in Conshohocken. Frank.
I love that word, Conshohocken.
I can't believe you've crossed over to the dark side and have aligned yourself with Callista on recruiting. Mike, you are a voice of reason. Frank and Andrew, your recruiting is way too rosy. Matt Campbell is not recruiting at the level of James Franklin, and James Franklin wasn't recruiting at the level James Franklin thought he was recruiting. Joe and Conshohocken. Joe seems like a hater. Joe seems like he just wanted to get something off his chest with that email.
Here's the thing. When has Penn State recruited in the last 30 years differently, really, honestly, than what James did and what Matt Campbell's doing? I mean, they never recruited like Alabama and Ohio State. It's never happened, at least since I covered the team in 1994. Their recruiting classes were never stacked with all 4- and 5-star, so to speak, guys. It never worked.
Didn't you think in 22 they were trending that way? I thought they were trending that way.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Yeah, it was like 2000, right after the year after they won. They went to the Rose Bowl. Like, so that 18 class maybe was really good, and then the 22 class. Yeah, they were really good after successful. Yeah, but I don't know if I would have even thought, here's where they're headed. Maybe. I just think Penn State's a different animal. It's not good. I mean, I don't think I'm not going to get into like that their academics are so much better than Ohio State or anything like that. But I think it's a different. I don't think they're willing to put in maybe the money or the same. They're not going after guys in the same fashion with the same resources. And I think part of it is that maybe they don't have some of that, but part of it is by their own design. They're not good. I don't think you can expect Penn State to recruit like that. And I just don't think that that's going to happen.
I think the location does have something to do with it. As we heard King Mac talk about Birmingham being straight down the road from Tuscaloosa. Of all cities that you want to go and hang out in, Birmingham was, kind of what he was saying. And yeah, but I mean, for some guys, the vibe around State College is a big draw. You can literally come there and just concentrate on football. And that's going to be a draw for some guys. So I think Matt Campbell's doing a good job. I think the idea for the kids' combine and Matt Campbell making the whole weekend, from what I've heard from people that went to the combine and also ran in the Special Olympic, the Paterno 5K Special Olympic run. Matt Campbell was there. I saw Jay Paterno tweet out a picture of Coach Campbell, or not Coach Campbell, of his mom being walked down by one of the players. And then I saw pictures.
I saw that too, yeah.
Yeah, and I saw pictures of Matt Campbell helping some of the Special Olympic athletes, off the field, showed up. And James ran that race. I remember I basically ran the race with James. I beat him. I just want to point that out. I beat him.
Without saying it, you beat him.
Yeah.
Andrew, do you know who walked Sue in? Do you know which player it was?
I don't remember the number that was on there.
Oh, yeah, it was 91, which is Armstrong Nodine.
Oh, yeah.
So
he is a guy to watch.
He is. I was ready to. That's why I brought it up, only because Armstrong is apparently the biggest, loudest personality on the entire team, and he is reputedly might be the strongest guy in the weight room on the entire team.
I was when they had when they made all those players available that day to us, I was the first guy to talk to him. And when I was talking to him, he was very quiet, articulate, not at all what you're seeing on the field, where you can see him talking smack to people. And you can see that he's going to be a big personality on the football field. But I just think he's an intriguing guy. He's a monster physically. Everybody talks about his insane strength. And in D'Anton Lynn's system, that big defensive tackle is a key piece. So that's a guy to watch, I think.
So the personality definitely fits with the Joe Paterno personality. So no wonder he was walking Sue off the field.
Oh yeah. They might have the three biggest, best personalities on the entire team now are all defensive tackles. I will vote for that. Yes.
All right.
Well, you have Armstrong, Siali Tupaki, and Keanu Williams. They're all those two are from UCLA and Nodine's from Oklahoma State.
Nice.
Awesome to talk with, big personalities, and three of the biggest guys on the team. So
big personalities are always good. Speaking of personalities, Rocco Becht was asked who it was that made his transition to Penn State easier and who took the reins on showing him around. Here's his answer.
I think Cooper Cousins, Anthony Donka, Tony Rojas. I love Zion Tracy. Those guys have done a tremendous job in having open arms for all of us and, creating those relationships, not just kind of sitting back doing their own thing, but reaching out to us, trying to create those relationships. So I've been super impressive with those guys, and, I'm excited to be here with the part of this team.
I thought it was interesting. Again, my boy Cooper Cousins making a guest appearance in a Rocco Becht soundbite. Tony Rojas, remember the fan base? He was going to Virginia Tech. He's obviously, we'll say, invested. If you're one of those guys that are bringing in transfers and making sure they feel at home, you are invested in the success of the team. You should be. And as Rocco Becht said, now after spring ball, there is no Iowa State guys. There are no Penn State guys, or no matter where you came from, everybody here is a Penn State football player.
And my sense is that's being that guy. That's how Cooper Cousins is wired. He was that way when he was a true freshman. Tony Rojas, I think it's been a process for him a little bit. And maybe kind of sitting out a little bit now and being limited in spring. He's become conscious of, and having been here for a couple of years, maybe he's more conscious of having to be that guy. Cooper Cousins is just going to be that guy no matter what.
Frank, you talked to Rocco Becht about the running backs that are in the room. Carson Hansen, he came into the media room after. I had a chance to ask Carson what he saw from the running back room and what these guys could take from each other.
Yeah, I think you see a lot of different running styles. So it's kind of like we like to share, tips with each other. What can we work on, our weaknesses, our dabs. It makes it a lot more special.
So Frank, you hear what Carson Hansen is saying about those guys. I was impressed with James, the champion of the Peoples. in some of his work. He ripped off a couple runs in drills, showed some good bounce a couple times, I thought. I do think Peoples is going to be the guy when it comes to the year. But what did you get from Rocco when you asked him? Because I heard that pop out of my ear, and I was walking away across the room.
He didn't really give much insight, to be honest with you with that. He was very complimentary. But I think we could see Saturday, one of the things I think I took away from most definitely is you could see some of the styles and what they can offer. And I think Peoples has an impressive burst and he's got moves, and I think he can be the home run threat. I still think Carson Hansen is going to be the starter. But I think Peoples is going to be could add a good bit of big play possibilities. And Quentin Martin really showed, I thought, his confidence and toughness, especially the way he ran the ball in the goal line, just near the goal line, just that, hey, he finally got his first chance in that Pinstripe Bowl. And I think he's running, to me, just looks like he knows he can do it on this level and that he's proven it and he's going to build on it. And I think it's really beneficial that they might have 3 guys now that you could honestly say they could be the starter if need be. And I think a lot of positions you can't necessarily say 3 deep like that. So I think that's really positive for Penn State going into the off season and then preseason camp.
I think having 3 of those guys, though, I think, assuming that all 3 are healthy, one of them is kind of going to get relegated. Well, I mean, they're probably only going to play 2 a lot, right? I doubt if they're going to play 3 guys on a more or less regular rotation. So one of those guys is going to a little bit be the odd man out, I think, assuming all 3 are healthy, which it's football. Nobody's ever healthy. Right. But yeah, that's worth watching. And you could see contrast in style, I think, on Saturday. That was one of the few things that were really tangible football things that we could glean from Saturday's rain-soaked activities.
What's the old saying about running backs? If you have 3, you're 1 short.
Oh, okay. All right, Kalista. There you go.
Three's pretty good. So we talk about Cooper Cousins. Cooper Cousins I think one of the storylines is just the transformation in not only the coaching staff as a whole, but specifically to the offensive line. Cooper Cousins on what the message is in the room with coach.
All the time, dog mentality. Like, he's in that building 24/7 just as much as us. Like I said, like, he's a huge part of this puzzle, not only just for the offense, but for the whole team in general. Like, takes guys up, teaches them about supplementation, brings people from all over the country that he's known from his times of playing back at Oregon, just like introducing people to us. Like, he's really good at networking. He's done a really good job of bringing people in and letting us be able to hear different mindsets and different things. So he's done a really good job just overall. He's a great coach.
I don't think I've been more excited for a coach coming to Penn State than listening to the guys talk about Ryan Clanton. And
definitely a position coach.
A position coach, yeah. And to just hear it, is just, I love it. I mean, when Coach Clanton was talking to you guys earlier this year, and he's talking about, oh yeah, he punched me like square in the chest, and I was like, dude, I mean, this is it. Like, finally, Penn State's offensive line is going back to an 80s and an early 90s dog mentality where they're going to push people around. The fan base has been clamoring for it. This is the guy in there.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because I think Phil Troutwine came in with a lot of, he should be really good at what he does. And I think eventually the line improved and maybe he was, but I never got the sense that Phil Troutwine was instilling what you're talking about with the toughness. It's just maybe it's just different personalities, right? But
yeah,
Ryan Clanton fits the position and the expectations of the position. And so it'll be interesting to see how quickly I think they have a pretty set starting 5. If they can stay healthy, let's see how quickly Ryan Clanton's teaching can help elevate them,
Our buddy Landon Tengwall says that this is going to be a dramatic difference in terms of mechanics, how you use your hands, how you come off the ball, all of that kind of stuff. But the other piece of it, and like Frank said, that we can pretty much foresee who the starting five is maybe going to be, but that makes Clanton's project is Malachi Goodman, because this kid is a young guy, but a freakish talent by all appearances, an elite recruit. If we're right about this starting five, he's going to be the left tackle. He's going to be at that critical left tackle position, and he has apparently has unbelievable upside. Let's see if they can tap it and how fast they can tap it, because that is a key piece of the puzzle.
You know who I think would be a good talk, and obviously there's a connection, I think, on the team, because I think Steph Wisniewski is still involved with the team, living in State College. But I'd be like, hey, Steph, can you call up Uncle Steve? Get Uncle Steve here. Have Coach Clanton and Steve Wisniewski have a little bit of a talk, a little bit of a demonstration. Because for me, I think Steve Wisniewski is one of the best all-time linemen to come out of Penn State. I think he should be in the NFL Hall of Fame. We all obviously know about Munchak and things like that. But Steve Wisniewski, from everything that people who know always said, he was the meanest man to ever play offensive line at Penn State. Mean is good. Get him in here.
Yeah, Mean is good. Yeah, sure. Mean is good. And James talked about this all the time. I wish those guys were a little more mean. Well, maybe we're getting there.
You can wish all you want, but you got to have the right plan to put it in place, right? Because, I mean, he wished every year, and somehow it never turned out except for the last 4 or 5 games of 2024. That's it.
Yeah, that's
His
right.
career
At Heady, like a little bit more than a month there, where it all seemed to be coming.
That was the only time in a decade that Penn State's offensive line was mean. I don't know, or at least competently mean. How's that?
Yeah.
Pop culture cinematic reference. What coach would have been great to get the offensive line and coaching staff mean for James Franklin? At a cinematic history, what coach would have been the guy?
Well, you're talking about life coach Chris Farley, who lived in a trailer down by the river.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I was going actual coach in the movie, though. Patches O'Houlihan from Dodgeball. Remember when the guy says, I'm not really an angry person, and he throws a wrench at him?
I missed that one, big guy. But I'm sure you're on. I'm sure you're on point. I don't question it at all.
We'll give you that one. We'll give you that one.
Yeah.
Next week's episode, our next podcast episode, we're going to start with that. We're going to start with that quote, legendary quote from Patches O'Houlihan. Are you angry now? Guys, anything we miss? We talked a lot about draft, Drew Allar, Terry Smith throwing daggers. I'd like to see Terry Smith walk in with like a cowboy hat on and cowboy boots, because he's just pulling shots fired like every single time. It's okay. We can still say that reference after last week.
Corners and chaps and the whole deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Cowboy Terry Smith. Anything that we wanted to talk about that we did not talk about?
No, I don't think so. We did the draft. We did we broke down the current group. I think we're ready to roll. I think we're ready to roll into this relatively slow time of the college football calendar.
Gotcha.
I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
I love it.
We'll take a couple days off here. Maybe we'll take 2 weeks. I'm not sure. Again, everybody, thanks for paying attention, watching, listening, emailing the show, BlueWhite Tailgate podcast at gmail.com. Things are going to pick up. Lift for Life is back. And they announced it in Beaver Stadium. So I'm assuming they want the fans to come back, kind of like old school. So we'll have a couple availabilities, I think, with the guys in June, and then that will be happening in July. So right now it's just postseason workout. What group do you think has to take, this is the last thought, what group do you think has to make the largest jump and take on more of their own work in the off season out of every position group at Penn State?
Wide receiver.
Well, I know the answer. Yes. But it's 2. It's wide receiver and defensive end / pass rusher right there. They got to prove that. Yeah. Penn State's been better almost at nothing else other than rushing the passer the last several years. And right now they don't have a guy that we know can do that on a truly competent level. So they need to figure that out. So defensive end, wide receiver. There we go.
Fast.
Yeah,
Brett. I can't pronounce his last name. Awesome number. He's number 4, one of my favorite numbers. So that's gonna be awesome for me. But if I'm the leader in that room, I'm telling the wide receivers at some point we have to play with a chip on our shoulder, like an actual chip, badass attitude out there that they could get the job done. And I think Penn State's lacked that in that position, whether it's they're not getting the ball enough, whether they didn't like the offense, the way it was tailored. That has to come back. So,
well, I'll just say one thing here. I just talked to Justin Lustig the other day for a magazine piece, and he said that some of the wide receivers could be foundational special teams players. So maybe they do have a little bit of that in them. And he said Kobe Howard is a candidate at kickoff returner and punt returner.
that is awesome to hear.
For whatever it's worth. Yep.
That's an excellent point, Mike. Because when you think back across a lot of guys in whether they were just role players, Ethan Kilmer, go back to Ethan Kilmer, walk on that ship.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Balls in the Orange Bowl, lighting people up on punts, and he was not one of the top 4 receivers on the team, but yet got the job done when he was given the opportunity. So
he could run. Yeah.
He could run. He could run. Absolutely. Frank, closing thought.
Closing thought is I think Penn State did a nice job of getting through spring drills, seemingly on the right path to figuring out how to put together a team in 2026. How's that for an incredible thought? Meaning that we got to get to know this group little by little. And I think we're finally, even the way we're talking, I think we're finally starting to get a gist of who the guys are on both sides of the ball and where the position groups go. And I think that's really, in a sense, what they needed to accomplish over 15 practices. And it seems like they at least are on pace, which I think is about all you can ask.
I agree. I think I would say I have a better sense of them than I expected to at this particular stage. Yeah, I agree.
So, my closing thought is the Penn State fan base is going to love Marcus Neal. They are going to love him. The more they get to see of him,
looks like a player.
Yeah, he looks like a player. He smiles and he has an awesome personality. I even asked him, "Are you always this energetic and smiling?"
Yeah, he is a really good guy. Yeah.
Penn State fans are going to love him. So that does it for this edition of Blue White Tailgate Podcast. For Mike Gross of the Gross Rational Product, Frank Bernani of the York Daily Record, I'm Andrew Calista. We will see you next time.